Hi, everyone. It's Daphne. Before we start, I just want to say how I disappointed Jack this week. I was so sure it was Jack having sex with someone in the beginning of the episode. I think I even said absolutely Jack, and I was wrong. Liz was right. I went and checked after. So, sorry, Jack. I know you're awesome. And enjoy the episode, everyone. Bye.
Hello and welcome to Fathoms Deep, a Black Sails podcast. From Common Room Radio, I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
And we made it, Daphne. It's the season finale.
I know.
Season 1.
I know. It's really, it's amazing. And this episode is really one of my favorite episodes. It's terrific.
So good. It's so good. It was such a thrill to watch again today. And so many just epic moments, and even moments that are like in my gift collection now. And I just assumed we're further along in the story because they are such awesome, epic moments in the storyline. But this is really it. This is the culmination of season 1. It was a slow burn, but it was a pretty explosive payoff, I think.
Absolutely. And today we need to raise a glass for Gates. I know. I'm so sorry. We have so
straight
many
into
listeners.
it, aren't you, Daphne? I was going to talk about neat ships first, but straight to the death of Gates. Kill my buzz.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's go to ships. Although I did want to just quickly say, we have so many listeners who are listening for the first time, and a bunch of them have talked about how much they love Gates. So
yeah,
once
we love Gates too. You heard us loving him. We love Gates.
We adore him, and this is the saddest thing, and so unexpected and
tragic.
Yeah,
and beautiful. One of the most beautiful deaths I have ever seen portrayed on television. Just anguish.
I know.
Gosh.
All right. Well, so let's take a break until we're really talking about that, and let's talk about ships for a bit and make you happy.
All right. I am wearing my Spanish galleon necklace right now. My necklace matches exactly the Spanish galleon or the Spanish warship.
In our logo.
Right. That's right. I guess so. In our logo and well, it's got the red crosses on it. Is what I meant to say. It's
true.
That,
That's
like,
true.
Super
it does.
Spanish look. It's from Madrid. So much love for the ships in this whole episode. And yeah, although I have to say, when we start out, it makes life on a ship seem maybe not so sexy after all. And I realize that my ideals are maybe a little impractical, and perhaps I've romanticized this a little bit because, boy, that looks like hell. That looks awful. It's hard to not get seasick watching the first part of this show.
I know. Well, you just want to go on those ships when there's no storms. That's what you need to do. You just stay clear of the storms.
Well, and I was thinking it almost looks worse like down below decks than it would be up top.
Absolutely.
That's probably not true if you're actually living it. But it looked terrible below decks. So close. Everyone's just like right on top of each other and throwing up into buckets, and it looked awful.
Yes. Well, and that's, I mean, I think, right. We get a view of just like how close their quarters are. I mean, even when things are not stormy, like this is not, this isn't a romantic cruise they're on.
No.
They are just really all living one on top of each other. One thing I loved was how the music at that part, when you're kind of really seeing the stuff down there, the thing that I thought was really cool was that when you're down there with all of them and people are doing all their stuff, the music we have is the music being played by pirates down in the ship.
Oh, was it? I missed that.
There's
Although
actually
I did think a couple of times that Bear McCreary was outdoing himself in this episode. But I didn't even notice below decks. Probably because of that. It was that, it was made to feel ambient in such a way.
Right. And it was just chaos of people and this and that. There's just a lot. True. There's a lot of chaos going on. But some of the people are sitting down there actually playing instruments, which is terrific.
Oh, that is cool. Nice touch.
I love
like
that.
It. Yeah.
Sail!
So why don't you start us off then and give us the little overview of this episode?
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to actually do this in reverse order of what we often do. We've been starting almost exclusively, I think, with the Walrus crew. And I wanted to end with that because I feel like that's the most important part. So we have 4 sections, I feel like, here. We have Eleanor and her consortium.
Yep.
We have the brothel, which is no longer the Ranger crew. It's really now become Jack and Anne and Max.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Vane and his new boys who've come into town.
All
and
the dreadlock boys.
Yes, and Vane's new chair. Vane in his chair. And then we have the Waller's crew, which is really, the bulk of the time and the emotional impact of all of this.
Yeah.
So those
and
are the
physical
parts.
impact, too, with actual cannons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's those are the parts that I wanted to go over, and we can get into our characters.
Excellent.
Prepare to board. Aye.
Okay, then. So who are we talking about first?
Well, I thought we will start with Jack and Anne and Max.
Interesting. Okay, I like that.
Kind of the happier. We'll start with the happier side of our story.
Although they had a good fight. I really liked the Anne and Jack fight in this one. Again, they're really showing us just how long Jack and Anne have been a couple, because this seems like the fight feels very real. It doesn't feel staged or dramatized at all, which I like.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's an interesting one. That's true.
It is.
I wanted to start with Happy Jack because I really love Happy Jack in the beginning.
Oh,
and then we
okay,
can get
fair
into
enough.
the fight. But okay, first of all, we start with Jack having sex with a prostitute.
Was that Jack?
Yeah, that was Jack.
I was wondering
Yeah.
why that was in there. Are you sure?
Yep, that is absolutely Jack. The first thing is Jack having sex with someone, and I have never paid much attention to it other than you see him kind of humming and coming down the stairs all happy afterwards after he had
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
that's blowing my mind.
Yeah, that's Jack.
And I'm glad, because at first it opens like that. I'm like, what is this completely pointless sex scene? I'm so glad
No, this is
that it was Jack. Although that's weird.
It's a happy sex scene because Jack's happy afterwards. But my question was, and the thing I kept back and looking, and there is no way I think to tell this, like from the fight, suddenly today when I was rewatching, I thought, wait, is he having sex with Max? And you cannot tell. I looked so many times.
Really?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That ended up.
You walked right into that
really
one,
did.
Daphne.
For research. For research.
Because surely it wasn't Max, was it?
Well, that's what's interesting is that later Anne gets really mad and says, "You're fucking her now, aren't you?"
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's Max or not. I don't know if it really.
Gosh.
I don't know.
Now
if
I have to look again.
I don't know if it really matters, to be honest. Like,
I think it matters.
Well,
now I'm very curious.
I think it's unlikely story wise because oh no, but she's not the madam yet. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. And yeah, if anyone can figure this one out for me,
working for it in this whole episode.
Right. I just don't know if there's a big enough screen to be able to make sense of who that is. It's quite dark. You don't really see their face.
Man. Like I said, I didn't even know it was Jack.
So yeah,
That's
it is
amazing.
Jack.
Okay.
And then he comes down happy, and then we get to see him.
See, I just assumed he was happy because I thought that scene was to show us that, look, the brothel is doing well again. They're making their money. They're doing their business. And then he came down happy because he was making money. I did not realize he was actually,
Well, I think he's happy on many levels.
Afterglow.
And I think that I actually would say that I think he was having sex because he was happy. Not that he was happy because he had sex. Like, think about just the last episode.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I think that him having sex was actually like a sign that things are going well for him now. That he's able to.
He's relaxed.
So
that's fascinating.
So he comes down the stairs, but really what I think he's happy about, really, 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 because he says it afterwards, was that he's about to fire Mrs. Mapleton.
Yes.
And that was just...
Who definitely has it coming.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a lovely scene. Like, he comes into this, he's setting her up. Like, she's not getting paid, whatever. And then I just love how Max swoops in. That was just gorgeous.
She's excellent. Again, and now I'm just so interested if that was her earlier. I bet it was from a story perspective, because she is working for it to show that to make herself indispensable to Jack. She is working for it. And she also knows, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. She also knows that you do not get Jack without Anne. And that helps explain that scene in the mirror where she's getting dressed and Anne stops and looks at her and Max knows exactly what she's doing as she takes her time and gives her that look.
Oh, absolutely.
Max, you're such a smart woman.
Yes. She is. And and that she constructed this whole thing where all of the merchants are getting discounts because now they're making money, and she's brilliant. I mean, she is brilliant. I know.
She is absolutely brilliant.
Right.
She has earned everything good that has happened to her, including that completely amazing blue dress in the end that I'm going to need. Fun fact, I already have that blue corset, so I'm halfway there.
Oh, my goodness, I love that dress. I actually just showed that dress to June.
It's so great. Oh, my gosh.
Do you want to see the best dress in the whole show? This is it. This is the best dress in the whole show. So I don't know. I just love that scene on so many levels. I love the way they get rid of her. I love Max being so smart. I love Jack just being so happy. Like, he's just so, and then he even says, he's like, he says something like, "Don't judge me. I enjoyed that so much."
Yeah. She had it coming. I'm sure he did.
Right.
I also like that with her costuming, she looks antiquated. Like she's out of style and out of fashion.
Absolutely.
Which is really cool too.
Right. And her hair even, very much so. Yeah.
And then Max comes in just looking like some kind of Egyptian goddess or something.
Goodness.
She's amazing.
I know. She's amazing. Yeah. So you can understand how Anne would be troubled. I mean, I think,
of course,
we can say we're going to learn more about this. We're going to learn more about what's going on with Anne. I mean, Anne has been one of our mysterious characters, that we can tell we're unraveling them slowly. She's definitely one of them. But she's right. She says, don't trust her. She's, and, Max is awesome, but, I would be very cautious around her too, because we don't know what her motivations are.
Slytherin. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
She'll do whatever she has to do and say whatever she has to say to get what she wants.
Exactly. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about them. That was just like the lovely part. I mean, unless you want to talk more about their fight.
No, I think that was it. Just that it was a very, I liked the intimacy of the fight. And I like that, I was kind of Team Jack in that particular fight too. When he was like, I don't understand. When she was down there, you made all these decisions for me and I make one without you. And now I'm getting yelled at, which is completely accurate.
Yep.
So
yes,
but I do like that how she comes back from that is she cannot be trusted. She doesn't come back at him. She doesn't try to point her finger at him and say, "Well, you're making a mistake because." But it's that she's the one that cannot be trusted.
Oh,
so.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I like that.
No matter how harsh, they speak in a harsh way to each other a lot of time. But there's just I don't know. I never ever doubted that this couple was in it for the long haul.
Yeah. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say is that you can tell that they're committed, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a traditional relationship, but it is one where it just, you get this sense that there's the underlying current is we're together. We may get mad at each other, but we're a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. Now, I don't think that we can talk about Jack and skip over the part where Vane comes in to speak with him, though, right? So let's at least touch on that from
Jack's perspective. Okay,
from Jack's perspective.
Okay,
yeah, and then we'll talk about Vane later. Sure.
Okay, great. So from Jack's perspective, I mean, first of all, when the cannon fire happens, Jack and Anne already exchange a look. Like when
oh, did they?
Yeah.
Like they have an idea of what happened,
right? When they say that somebody took over the fort, they already give each other a meaningful look.
Because he's mentioned that at some night with a fire and a bottle of rum, been like, whoever owns that fort owns this island.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
Right. I mean, I think that their minds went very quickly to Vane, and then when he shows up.
Jack looks so nervous. It's adorable.
Well, Jack has every reason on earth to be nervous.
Oh, yeah. He should be nervous. Absolutely. Especially since he was just outed by because he sees her.
Right.
Mapleton.
Absolutely.
Back in the background.
Absolutely.
So he knows, gosh, he killed 8 brothers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. They were by pirate standards.
Ooh.
And again, we've seen Vane do bad things, but we know that Vane lives by codes.
Yes.
And he is serious about his codes.
He says right then, loyalty means something to me. Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's my Gryffindor. I'm going to just throw in all the Harry Potter
go for it.
tonight.
Go for it. And now I understand those because because you used black sails to explain them to me, so I understand them.
Exactly. Now you know.
But
welcome to pop culture.
I know, exactly. Yeah, and I love that he points out something that will become a really significant part of Jack's, kind of way of being, is that he says to him, he's like, you will never sail under the black again. And I know that's the thing that's going to be the worst thing for you.
That'll sting worse than death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's true. I mean, you definitely see that flicker that comes over Jack's face. And I mean, and you see that I think that he's thinking about that because he hasn't been a pirate for quite some time. And again, he was awfully happy coming down those stairs. I mean, things are going pretty well right now. So he might be thinking to himself, this will be all right. And I'm interested to see as we go on, because I don't have a whole lot of memory really about how he adjusts to being basically Noonan of the brothel rather than the quartermaster of a ship.
Well, we will see. I'm not going to.
We will see. We'll
I'm
find
not going
out.
to say a thing about all of that.
Closer to right than Jack.
And then lastly, the thing that I adore is Vane's like, I love what you did with the place.
Oh yeah.
Which is
after they had that evening in Paris night, again, Max's idea, again, brilliant. Everyone, that is definitely the best time I've seen anybody having in that brothel.
That's so true.
Like, that looked fun.
That did look fun. That totally looked fun. That's true. And that little line and the way he just like brandishes his gun, it was just kind of beautiful. And it's not thematically important at all, but it was just like a moment of awesome.
It was a great moment of awesome. Completely agreed.
So yeah, I just really enjoyed that, and we will talk more about the stuff Vane says when we get to Vane, because actually there's I believe that there's parts of that exchange that from Vane's perspective are super, super important.
Yeah, I agree.
But now I would like to talk about Eleanor.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I thought to start just a little bit about Eleanor and Scott.
Oh, that's right. That's how we open up with Eleanor and Scott.
Right, we do. And it was just so interesting. Like she totally doesn't get him. Like she said something like, "Oh, I'm okay. You thought that this place was going to fall apart without you." And then I love that he says, "You really believe that my concern is for this place."
Yeah. That's right.
And I think honestly,
Scott's super nice.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment from his perspective. From her perspective, I think she has a hard time possibly understanding that people love her. I mean, it's funny. That's like the flip side of like we don't understand why all these people love her so much, but I think she doesn't either.
That's interesting. I like that. Well, and I love what Vane says to her when he says, I think you're just tired of fathers and people telling you what to do.
Absolutely. I think there's
that makes a lot of sense too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she says this thing about the schedule and, it made so much trouble for me. Like he said, you're getting what you always wanted. And she said, oh, but it's this whole schedule thing's been made so much trouble with me and you and me and Max. And he says, well, maybe that trouble would have happened anyway. And then he acknowledges her. He said, look, you built this out of nothing. You are about to get everything that you dreamed of. They don't know what's going on the walrus, but whatever. It seems like she's about to get everything she dreamed of. And he really recognizes her for that. And then there's a moment later on where Hornigold really recognizes her for doing a good job of putting this consortium together. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting with what you said about Vane. Like there's this, she seems to be getting all of this recognition from the older men in her life. Like last episode from Flint, this episode from Scott and from Hornigold.
That's true. She's moving on up. She's proving herself.
Right. And
it's been a while.
But the question then is Vane right? I mean, this is a real question. Like, does she want all this recognition from these father figures?
Oh, when he says, yeah, you really don't care about the money or the island or any of it. You think you do, but what you really want is, and what would you say? Because he doesn't say what she wants. He says what she doesn't want. Like, you're tired of fathers and people telling you what to do. So what does that mean that Eleanor wants?
Well, okay, but I'm going to ask you a different question. And we should maybe go over a little bit more of their conversation. There's possibly the question of what does Eleanor really want? There's also the question is, does Vane see Eleanor or does he see a female version of himself? And that's what I started to think of. So let's I'm going to turn my page real quickly, and let's talk about this whole the whole exchange with Vane and Eleanor. So he comes in with his gang.
Yes. And he's rolling a cigar at her desk with his feet up in her chair.
Oh, yeah.
Feet on the desk. That was a baller move.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, things have changed. I am back. And things have changed.
I really love Vane a lot.
Right.
Yeah, he's super cool.
So again, I love what he says.
Took over the fort.
I know.
I'm sorry. Are we doing these two together? Because there's a lot to talk about Vane and Eleanor.
Yeah. Let's do.
Or is it just this one site?
Yeah, let's do Vane and Eleanor together right now.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, then let me just say really quickly that I completely forgot that Vane took over that fort. And when I saw the cannons fire from the fort into the bay, I was just like, "Oh my God, I forgot." It was amazing.
Oh, that is
so
amazing. Cool. Oh, I love that you got to experience that over again. Because that's
me too. Now that is the bonus. That's the bonus for waiting on all of these, not just watching it a million times, is that I get that fresh excitement when something like that happens that I forgot about. That was amazing.
Right. And that, I mean, now we know that was his plan all along. This was his power move, and it was the power move. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And I love that he says that, when you live on an island, you forget that there's a whole world out there. And he said, I needed to find people who didn't, live by the rules of NASA. And he says, I found some men that we could take the fort, and none were burdened with the thought of if this would upset Eleanor Guthrie. I love that. Yep. I love it. So perfect. That is what he needed. And then he's proposing the partnership that he basically the same thing that he proposed in episode 3. But he proposed it then without the power of the fort behind him. Remember in episode 3, after his badass apple chewing, I'm Charles Vane of the Ranger, he basically said, you do commerce, I'll protect you, and things will be great. And she didn't take that offer.
Right.
But now, he made a version of the offer that she can't say no to because he has the fort. Mm-hmm. And he knew it.
Which is what she said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
What did you think of Vane's little story of remembering the first time he ever saw her on the beach?
So that's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So my interpretation of that has always been how awesome that she's this kind of abrasive person to a lot of people. This kind of I don't care about anything, and what he said before, what he said to Adele, power that just is. I think that's what drew him to her, obviously. This little girl on the beach, not giving a shit about being, surrounded by these tough pirates, and that smiled at him and just refused to be afraid of him. So, right. So this doesn't really fit with a lot of the stuff we know about Eleanor.
You don't think so?
In some ways she is fearless and tough, but in a lot of ways, we've seen her be, really need other people's esteem, and so we've seen that side of her too. So
I see what you're saying.
So I feel like there is a truth of Eleanor Guthrie, and Vane's not exactly the person to voice it. I mean, there's aspects of her that he loves and appreciates, and that definitely is what he's attracted to in her.
Yes.
But I think that his idea of the power she has, I mean, we just watched her work so hard to actually get the amount of power that he has always thought she had.
Always assumed she had. That's a really great point. Yeah.
So it's interesting. I feel like, if anything, Vane's view of Eleanor might really be more of a mirror of what he's been wanting all this time himself.
I think that's an interesting point. I don't necessarily see that. When I watch it, I absolutely believe that he has been in love with Eleanor for about as long as he can remember.
Oh, I do too. I totally believe that.
Yeah. And because of that, although he sees her, he romanticizes her a lot.
Yeah.
And so he's got this ideal version of who Eleanor Guthrie is. And probably that's gotten worse since they broke up. Oh, I love when he said that. God, I missed that look.
I know.
Man.
Right. And she
was pissed.
Right. And that's awesome. I mean, he loves her when she's being like a tiger. She just, that's the version of her that he most, just really does it for him.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons why they didn't work out, is because he always needed her to be so fierce. And because we know that she had so much bravado. I wonder if she was afraid of being found out by him.
That's very possible.
That it was bravado.
Right.
And that it wasn't the true power that he always saw.
Right. I mean, they're right. they're a complicated couple. They are. That aren't exactly a couple all the time, but it made me think of what you said in I'm trying to remember which episode when they had the big meeting with the captains and the quartermasters, and he let her have what she wanted and just was like so secure in himself, and how you said that really turned her on, and that was your interpretation of how when she went to his tent.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this is related to that. Like there is this kind of this innate toughness that each of them really loves in the other one.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep.
And
I like that.
Yeah. And I just feel like that's what's happening here on the flip side. Like, yeah, she's really mad at him, but I felt like there was just a lot of kind of sexual energy going on between them during this fight, during this argument. And in the end, she told him about the tunnels to the fort. Like,
I wasn't clear on that. Is that what she told him right then, or was she saying that she had told him that before?
Well, it's possible that she told him before, but she knew that Hornigold was going to try to retake the fort, and she didn't say it before. Yeah. She said it this time. So that's what made me think that she said to Hornigold, like when Hornigold was mad, she said, "You wanted me to think with my head, not with my emotions, and that's what I did."
That's right.
So it really felt to me like she had chosen right then, off camera, to tell Vane about, she just said, "Fine, you have the fort. This is the arrangement that's going to work best for me right now. I'm going to tell you about these tunnels," because having them battle it out over the fort when the walrus is supposed to come back with all this gold is also not an ideal situation for her.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, she doesn't have obviously a loyalty to Hornigold. She needs someone strong in the fort.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. No, I like that. Okay.
So yeah, it's a very complex thing, and we will continue in season 2 to look at, how they see each other, who has power, how they interact, how they feel about each other's power. And so this is almost like a preview of a lot of stuff that's going to happen, which is great.
Yeah. I like that.
So now I wanted to take that to some of the stuff that Vane had said to Jack afterwards.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was great when he came in and said basically that perception doesn't matter anymore because I have the actual might. Like, I've got the fort now. I have the power now. It doesn't matter if people think I have the power or not. It's mine.
Right. And this is the interesting thing. I remember we talked a while ago about like who Hornigold is. Like, so we talked so much. This is what I thought of today about it. Like that we talked so much about how pirate captains' perception is so important because they have to manage their crews and manage their perception to ships that they're trying to take. And so this whole idea between when you have to be concerned about perception versus power that just is.
Yeah.
And I feel like when Vane said that to Rackham, he said, well, once upon a time, I would have made an example of you in the most bloody way possible. But now he doesn't need to. And I think in a way that Vane's declaring, I've now shifted. I'm in the category of power that just is. Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's got to feel good, too.
I think that's the thing he has always wanted.
I think you're right. I think that's and it was hard earned, too.
Oh, yeah.
To go back and face his past and to rally those troops that he did. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
To literally rise from the dead, reborn.
Right. I mean, all he had to do was rise from the dead.
It was easy.
Well, what did he say to Eleanor? He said, I've been a tenant here and that didn't work out for me. Now I want a stake.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep. I like it.
I like it too. Okay. So that's really what I wanted to say about, I just wanted to say one last thing. There's one last moment at the very end. We see Vane at the very, very end. We see Vane pick up the chair. He picks up Hornigold's chair and he sets it right and he sits down in it. And then when he looks out on the beach where Eleanor has just sent off Captain Lawrence to do the trading. Mm-hmm. And it's just a mirror of the thing he said. He's looking at her on that beach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
He's come full circle. Yep. No, I agree. It was beautiful. It was great storytelling.
Right. Mm-hmm. But he's come full circle, but she had not. I don't know if you got a good look at her face.
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
She was so not that 13-year-old girl who didn't care about anything. She seemed so troubled. She was so aware of all that she had lost.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. Yep.
So that's us till next season. That's Vane and Eleanor.
Mm-hmm. And I do look forward to seeing what becomes of them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready. No. I almost said I'm ready, and then I realized, no, I'm not ready. Who's next?
Well, it's time to move on to the walrus. And I think the only way we can do it is to start talking about Flint and Gates.
I love their drinking scene so much. When they're laughing about Craig and they're telling all these old war stories, and we get these excellent chuckles and laughs from Flint.
I know.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I have a question for you about that. Because I really paid attention to their faces this time. Yes, I mean, as you know, Flint laughing during that, one of my all-time favorite GIFs that I use constantly on Twitter.
Excellent. Uh-huh.
So I noticed that in the beginning, I mean, and this makes a lot of sense, Flint he kind of starts the laughing. I mean, first of all, he starts the drinking. He pulls out this old bottle of wine that he's been saving. And what does he say? He says, tomorrow either we'll be able to afford more, and then Gates finishes and says,
or we'll be too dead to care.
And that's just, it was so hard to watch because we know what's on Gates's mind. We know how the last episode ended. So,
well, and I think that Flint must have his suspicions too. Like, he knows that Gates might have agreed to do this thing, but he is not on board the way that Flint is. He is not 100%.
Right. So that was my question for you is like, I mean, again, it's Flint. He rarely does anything without calculating, except last episode when he went a little bonkers. So I feel like, you know, in the beginning, Flint's the one smiling and laughing, and Gates has this, like, he's looking down. He gets this twitch in his eye, which was
very reserved.
Really hard to watch. It was just like, he's so pained. And then Gates gets into it. Like, then when they start talking about Craig, Gates gets into it, and then suddenly Flint is the one who's really serious. Then he's just watching him.
Oh.
So they start out laughing together, but then when Gates gets into the whole long story about going to New York and blah, 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 then Flint's the one.
I don't know. I think that's when Flint was recognizing just how fundamentally different he and Gates were. And was recognizing that Gates was good and loyal.
Yeah.
Because there is no way in hell that Flint would be wandering the cold streets of New York for months looking for some
that's so true.
Some crewmate's sister. Are you kidding me?
That's so true. I know, and it's such
and that even when he couldn't find her, that he took time and sentiment to make this act as substantial and as sacred as he could.
Yep.
It's very unlike Flint.
No, it's true. Well, and also that, like, Flint could laugh with his friend about someone. I mean, this is a moment. I think once Gates lets go, there is a beautiful moment of two friends being friends. You could tell that the two of them have sat in that room and, you know, just laughed and had fun over a bottle before. But the beautiful thing with Gates is, like, he's telling this story and you see how much Gates just, like, I don't know, loves people, loves life. Like, he's telling this wacky story about this guy, you know, and it's just like so lovingly, you know, it's just like this crazy guy who lied about how much money he had. And here's this story. I just feel like, I don't know. I love Gates.
No, I completely agree. Well, and it's so beautifully juxtaposed too, because then we've got Flint, who can't even think of the guy's name in the beginning. Remember,
Right?
And Gates was a
Absolutely.
little pissed about that.
Right.
He was like, "I don't know who you're talking about. The guy who got that bottle was named Craig." He's like, "Oh yeah, Craig.
Yes.
Good old Craig."
That's very
You
that's
have
very
no
appropriate.
idea what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
So then suddenly at the end of it, I'm going to have to read this because this is one of my old-time favorite bits from the whole
It's a
show, even
beautiful,
all 3
beautiful
seasons.
scene. Wow.
So when Gates, after he tells this story and he tells about throwing the letter into the water after he couldn't find the sister, he says, "There are no legacies in this life, no monuments, no history, just the water. It pays us and then it claims us, swallows us whole as if we'd never been here at all."
Yep.
And I feel like that is like kind of like almost a thesis statement for this whole show on some level.
I agree on some level. In fact, it won't be till season 3, but keep an eye out, because that, to me, is very reminiscent to a story that Flint tells. And I think we see that flicker in his eye right then.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but he's definitely something. I mean, the mood shifts and changes.
Well, and I think on some level this is what Flint has been fighting against. I mean, I think there's a moment where both of them are kind of like, Gates says it and Flint knows that on some level it's so true. And but this is, Flint has been, fighting against this idea that it's all meaningless and that the sea is going to just, envelop us. And the other thing about this moment with them is that, think about it, we know that Gates, has basically agreed to kill Flint, or not kill him, but stand aside while other people kill him. Mm-hmm. So there's that, but there's also the swallows us whole can mean a lot of things. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean physically swallow us. It's this life can swallow us spiritually, can swallow who we are, our personalities.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Flint in the last episode, how completely obsessed he's become. And this is the idea of swallowing someone could mean that too. Like, just swallow the person that you are.
And beautifully antithetical to the Odysseus story of walking inland until someone mistakes the oar for the shovel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's walking away from the sea instead of being swallowed by it.
Right.
So yeah, those two things, the Odysseus part in the beginning and this at the end of this season, is just, this is the danger. This is what's looming over them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Levels of heartbreak.
I know.
So then,
indeed, ...
Yeah, so then we get to the next morning when Flint riles everyone up, and then they turn the corner and no Urca.
That bay is empty. And I just thought to myself, I had such a sinking feeling in my heart. And I remember that from the first time I watched it, being like, why am I crushed for Flint's sake? Why?
Yes, that's one of my big questions that we'll have about our feelings about Flint, but I'm going to save that for the end. So then we have the whole thing that, like, Dufrain and de Groot want to have a trial right then. Gates does his quartermaster thing of being, really rational and says, no, we can't do this here because everyone will start fighting. He says, we'll do it at home, and we'll do it like civilized men.
Like civilized men. Sure we will. Dear idealistic Gates.
Right. But also he's talking about civilization. Like, he's, civilization is going to condemn Flint. Like, he's saying, let's be on that side.
Oh, gosh. I mean, think of it in that light.
I know. It's like I hear anything with civilized and just like,
it's like a trigger word.
It is. It's a trigger word. It's a trigger word for thoughts.
Oh, no.
So then, and Dufrain brings up the fact that they were drinking together and that they still don't trust Gates to back them up. And that's when Gates hands him that letter.
This package of letter, which I just had no idea what could possibly be contained therein. Yeah.
So then they see the man of war, and Flint is like getting, he wants to attack it, and Gates is just like, I am done. I am so out of. You are crazy. And this is when they have the Gates calls him back into his office to argue with Flint. I know. I feel
a beautiful scene.
I know it is. It is an
extraordinary scene.
It is an extraordinary scene. It truly, truly, truly is. And so, yeah, we don't need to. I think we can just, talk about the emotion of it. I mean, everyone saw it.
Yeah.
We know what happened. They fought. Gates is against it.
Yep. And Gates is ready to turn around and run. So he's essentially taking the prize of the Urquhart Lima away. Like,
right.
There's no way that Flint can do it without that second ship.
Right. And then Flint accuses him.
Especially now with these two warships.
Right. And so Flint accuses him of a mutiny, and he says, I'm not inciting a mutiny. I'm managing one.
Oh, it's a good line. Yeah.
And then the point, it was so interesting, sad. There was a point where he's walking away, and Flint goes through this transformation. Like, at first, he's pleading with him. He says, please don't do this. Mm-hmm. Honestly pleading, like, really... it just felt like this was no longer Captain Flint saying it. This was James saying this to Hal, saying, please don't do this to me. And then when they talk about, if he's going to if Gates is going to let the crew hang him. Oh, right. And Gates admitted that he gave them the letter. He said, what,
Right. Yeah, but then he talks about how he's going to secret them away, though. He's going to make sure that he and Miranda get off of Nassau and get to Boston, and that he takes that pardon. Like, even now, he's still loyal. He's still loyal to Flint, and he still wants good things for him.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. He was so angry with Flint. He feels so betrayed, but some part of him, you saw that the night before, some part of him still loves Flint.
He loves him, yeah, of course.
And he did.
Even after Billy. It's amazing.
Even after Billy. But Billy is what inspired him to hand Dufrain that letter.
That was the last straw.
Gates is just torn into so many directions, and you can see it. Right. So he wants to save him, and yet he just a few minutes ago handed the death sentence to Flint.
Yeah.
And Gates is, it's just, I love him. He's not a great tactician. Like, this is not, he's like, I don't know, maybe, how did he think he was going to save them? How did he think he was going to do that? I don't know.
I think that he probably could have, because I do think that he is a good tactician. He's been around for a long time, and I think that he could have gone through with that plan. But again, Flint is manic now in his zeal to see Nassau be this thing that he has it held up in his eye that it can be, and until he gets his hand on that, there is no compromise.
No, that's absolutely true.
There's no cost that he won't pay.
No, that is totally true. But I think when Gates says that he's going to leave, there is, like I said, that moment where Flint's just pleading with him.
Yeah.
And then Flint's looking down. He actually, for the first time since we saw him drunk, seems kind of downtrodden.
Yes.
Until Gates says, take that pardon. And when he says that, it's like you see Flint's face kind of reawaken.
Yeah.
And go into that fierce mode.
No.
And I think that's ultimately what happened. I think when he said take that pardon, Flint realized that was something he personally, aside from his dream about the gold, that was something he couldn't let happen. He couldn't let that situation happen, the thing he's fought against. And that's when he goes after Gates. And
I'll never forget that scene. I will never forget that scene.
I know. I've never, how could they, the writers and Toby Stephens, and oh goodness, now I'm spacing on the name of the actor who plays Gates, and I feel so bad because we're so in love with,
I believe.
Thank you.
Is that right?
Their acting and the writing and the situation and everything about it, could you imagine before seeing that, watching someone kill his friend while apologizing to him, and for you to feel so bad for the one who's doing the killing?
Right. Yeah. No, I know. It's insane. And it's my favorite character.
Right.
My favorite character is being killed by the man who is now, by killing my favorite character, somehow becoming my favorite character. What have you done, writers? What witchcraft is this? I don't understand.
I know. It's amazing. I mean,
It's amazing.
I can't tell you. I mean,
but gosh. And I mean, I think a lot of credit to the writers, of course, but Toby Stephens is sensational in that scene with the saying, you know, I'm sorry. Oh,
right.
God,
I didn't mean for this to happen.
Moving.
Right. And you believe him so much. You believe him so much. You are heartbroken for him.
Sincere. Mm-hmm.
And
he is losing more of his humanity. Every day, Flint loses more of his humanity, and we're starting to see that.
Yes.
And he's just on this quest for whatever this thing is that he has held at such this... I mean, I don't know what he thinks is at the end of this road. I'm with Miranda on this one. It's like, this will not lead where you think it leads.
Absolutely.
There's no happiness or joy found where you're going.
Yes. Well, and I do want to tell our listeners who are watching for the first time, in the next season, you will find out so much about Flint, and it's going to be such a beautiful process of unlocking who this man is. Yeah. But in this moment, everything we need to know about him is in his face and in his pleading and in his apologizing. And yeah, I can't say it enough times. I've watched this so many times, and every single time it really is just such a wave of emotion for me watching this happen.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Okay. Well, we probably should have ended there, but now I want to talk about Flint and Dufrain.
No, flipping Dufrain. I'll tell you what, a haircut does a lot for a guy. Because he went from being just like this foppish, can't take him seriously numbers guy to now I'm like, you might kill a dude with, you know, which he totally did, bit out somebody's jugular. So,
it's true.
But that haircut makes him a much more badass individual.
Yes. No, absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. I mean, Dufrain, obviously a big part of this, you know, this plot against Flint. And then Dufrain walks in and finds Gates. I mean, Flint came out and just told them straight up that
Well, first Silver came in. Remember, Silver walked in at the mid-death embrace.
Yes,
knew immediately what was going on, and Flint was like, "There's no hiding this. There's no."
And did you notice that Flint said, "Don't touch him"? Like Flint was still protective of Gates in that first moment when you know Silver was just being practical, right? And so so Silver's trying to be practical. Dufrain comes in. Silver tries his sweet talking on Dufrain and just saying, you know, think about this. You have responsibility to the crew. Blah blah blah. Silver talks.
All good stuff. Silver is really.
It's very practically correct. Very morally shady.
I guess that's what I mean. Like he's so pragmatic. Yeah.
Right. So much so. Right. And that's exactly what we expect from him.
Yeah. And it's just what Flint needed right then, which is great, too, because you see, which the writers did that on purpose very much. Like, they take Gates from us, and they're like, okay, and here's the new right-hand man. Yep. And this is how he gets there.
Yep, absolutely. Right. I mean, he has been, you know, he's been slowly proving his value to Flint throughout.
Right.
And this is when, Flint needs him to kind of take over.
Yep. Well, remember he asked earlier on, too, in the show. He was like, so I'm just wondering where we are now. Flint's like, keep wondering.
I know. I love that. That's a great moment. The next part of the Dufrain, Flint, Silver thing that was interesting to me was, we knew that they had the Spanish man of war, and Dufrain comes back from seeing Gates, and it looks like maybe he is going to be practical. Like he says to Flint, you know, tell them that we came from St. Augustine and tell them that we're a cargo ship that has anything but tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So then Flint is telling Silver what to say. And he tells him to say that they have tobacco. And Dufrain
threw me at first. I was so glad that they explained that to us because I was like, what?
Right. And this is where we see that Dufrain's not stupid. Like he completely understood immediately what Flint was doing. That he said that if the man of war goes away, even though they said tobacco, then Flint will have proven that they are there because of the Urca de Lima and will have at the same time renewed the pirates' lust for gold and faith in Flint.
Yep. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant move.
Well, the whole thing was brilliant, that they were pretending that the Ranger were pirates and that they weren't pirates. And
right. It really is. All of it is, extraordinarily done. I
right.
mean, they got as good as they are, they've earned their reputation, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely. And Flint had said to Gates when they were arguing, he said, look, I have a great plan. And if we do it right, like if we do it according to my plan, that man of war will not manage to get a shot out before we've already dominated them from the two sides.
That's right.
And, so it's all working out. It's all working out.
Perfect
and
plan
it's like,
so far.
Right. And so they're drifting so that they can be sideways so that they'll be able to use their cannons against the man of war, but the man of war's not suspecting anything. And that's when Dufrain takes over. That's when he points a gun at Flint. Because he's just
that's what
mad.
My notes. Is
right.
that it? Is he just? Did he just lose it? Because it's like, why would you do this now? Why now? You're going to get everybody killed.
Right. De Groot. Well, he wouldn't have gotten them killed had no cannons gone off, because the man of war was just going away. The man of war wasn't going to attack
You're
them.
Right. They were going to just get out unscathed. Okay.
Right.
You're right. You're right. Of course.
But Flint's plan would have worked, and it really bugs me. Because right, Dufrain,
damn it,
De Groot
Who
basically
invited that guy.
Right, De Groot. Thanks, De Groot. He riled Dufrain up. I mean, of course, they're both really angry right now, but he chose that moment.
And smart,
right? And I think
wrong.
they wanted to prevent this fight.
Yeah, it's true.
But the problem with it is that once Silver does get away, and let's just give props to Randall for saving the day for Silver.
Right, which I totally forgot about, which was awesome.
I love that, where he hits him on the head.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Thank you, Randall. You've done your part today. Well, no, and that is actually significant, because this is the moment where we understand that Randall actually has loyalty to Silver.
Yeah, that's true, and it's important.
So that is actually an important moment.
Yeah,
all joking aside.
But it was awesome of Silver to light that cannon too. I mean, that was so perfect, classic Silver.
Right.
And with his like, I'm sorry, but it had to be done. But he is not going, and he is not walking away from the Urquidalima gold. He wants his share. Yep.
Well, and he trusts Flint. I mean, that's what's interesting also, is that Flint has this...
Now, what do you mean by he trusts Flint?
Well, so... he trusts. I mean, no one else. Gates didn't trust Flint's plan to fight this man of war. Everyone's saying this is suicide. Silver's the one who's just like, this is what Flint thinks needs to have happen. I'm going to do what I can to make it happen. Like him shooting off that one cannon created a point of no return. Like the pirates had to fight at that point. The problem is that Dufrain hesitated.
Yeah, and now we lost that. Right. That timing that was so essential. Yeah,
exactly. Because then we see the man of war turn, and then they have all of their cannons facing.
The cannons, yeah. Ugh.
So it was just, and you see Flint's just yelling at Dufrain. Like even when Dufrain has a gun pointed at him, he's like not even listening. He's just like, "Stop! You're not focusing on the right thing. This is our moment."
Oh, it's so crazy when he just keeps hollering fire.
I know.
And everybody is like, we're mutinying right now. And he's yelling fire.
But then even with Dufrain, like once he took over and Silver did shoot off the one cannon, anyone who knows what they're doing understands that the only thing they could do at that point is shoot as much and as fast as possible. And Dufrain still hesitates. And,
and it's bad.
That is just death toll of them. And
Dufrain actually shoots Flint, right? Let's not forget that.
Right. He shot Flint because Flint was trying to fire the cannon personally.
Yes.
And then in all of the chaos, it's so interesting that like Flint is just, you just see him watching his world fall apart. Dufrain's cowering. There's a point where you get a shot of Dufrain actually cowering. Flint is not cowering. Flint's trying to do stuff. And then there is a point where
Although
Flint
I also like how disassociated he is. I mean, of course he got shot, so that's part of it. But it's been a bad day.
Right. Flint's had a bad day. Flint's had a really, really bad day. Yeah, we thought that episode 7 was a really bad day for Flint. That was nothing. So yeah, it's just, this is the thing I wanted to talk about. So the thing that, I mean, we talked already about how, how crazy it feels, like all the emotions we have about watching Flint kill Gates and how we are so sympathetic to him at the same time, and just how this show managed to really put us emotionally in a place that we didn't expect and isn't very comfortable and all of that. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I wanted to ask is like this fight between Flint and Dufrain. How do you feel about Dufrain?
Dufrain is no Gates, that's for sure. I have no loyalty to Dufrain at all. I think that he is just, I mean, I guess they're all just out for themselves, so that's not fair. But he has failed to move me. I'll put it that way.
See, the thing that was interesting to me is like I'm actively, by the end of this, I am actively angry at Dufrain. Like that's my emotional response. I understand that Dufrain, he's right. All this stuff about Flint, like he's totally correct. He's, he's got the moral high ground on many levels.
Yeah.
And yet I come at the end of this episode, like feeling for Flint.
Yeah.
And hating Dufrain. And
yeah.
I was just curious
I wouldn't go so far as to say that I hate Dufrain, but Dufrain is never going to be my captain. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, this will be another thing we get to talk about in season 2.
In season 2, indeed.
Our Flint feelings and Dufrain feelings. So that's
well,
it.
The next time we see them, they're on the beach, right?
Oh, right. On the beach. Yes.
Yeah. Which my first thing I noticed when Flint woke up on the beach was that someone had patched him up.
Yep.
And I thought, someone patched him up? And then, of course, we see Silver is next to him. So naturally it was Silver. But I love that the first thing he says is, "Why didn't you kill me?" to Dufrain. And then we find out that, of course, the Urca de Lima is there, that it's crashed in the night, and that the sands are littered with gold, more gold than should be allowed. It's amazing. It's everything that Flint said that it would be. So Dufrain must not have that much faith in himself after all. He must feel that he needs Flint to take this gold. Is that why he's not dead?
I'm not going to say anything because this storyline continues in the first episode of season
that's fair.
2.
Well, I'm just wondering as I watch it. 'Cause I don't remember.
Right.
Why? I mean, that's what it has to be. Dufrain must feel that he needs Flint to secure this gold. That's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, Flint would be dead.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that makes sense. Again,
we'll see. Time will tell.
We'll see.
Just in a couple of weeks.
I know.
Wow.
I'm already excited. I love the first episode of season 2.
Oh, man. I just love it all. I
love it all. It's crazy how much I just sit down and get ready for this. And I'm just so happy that I, have a reason to watch this and that we get to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready to guns! Full complement!
Then let's move into our big themes.
Okay. The one that I really wanted to start with which I wanted to start with the concept of shifting sands.
That speech that Max gives to Eleanor in her awesome blue dress, looking proud, but somehow not smarmy.
No.
She is extraordinary. She is my favorite woman on this show. She is so cool.
She is. She's incredible. And she's proud, but at the same time, I feel like she's very deliberately trying to show Eleanor, like put a brave face to Eleanor. Like she's still, I feel
really?
Like she's I definitely felt like she still has hurt from Eleanor.
Certainly she does still have hurt, but I didn't think she was trying to put on a brave face. I thought she was offering an olive branch. That's what it seemed like to me. Like, we are not against each other. It's not you against me.
Oh, well, that's interesting. 'Cause
In fact,
I'm going to actually say the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go through it real quick because there's so many interesting lines here that go with this shifting sands. So I actually love that you called it shifting sands in one of the episodes.
What do you know?
And then Max, they specifically talk about sand here. I love it. So, so Max says, you know,
Gritty, and it gets into everything.
I know.
Sorry. Every time somebody talks about sand, I think of stupid Hayden Christensen in that stupid movie talking about sand. It's ruined me for life.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you, Alistair, for making us watch that movie. We love you,
Indeed.
Alistair.
We do. Drink. Yeah.
So Eleanor starts to apologize, and that's when that was the first moment where it's so obvious that Max is still hurt, because she like cuts her off when she's starting to apologize, and she's like, no, you have nothing to be sorry about. I was standing between you and your dreams. And then she says, well, Eleanor says, well, you said that this island is just sand. And Max says, sand has its virtues. Nothing is fixed. Fates can change. Mm-hmm. And then she shows a bunch of examples. She shows Gold and Vane, that now their fates have switched places. She uses her own example. And then she says, you taught me a lesson. Never let anyone stand in the way of your goals and ambition. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the thing we were talking about people who, you know, this idea of what's more important, the people in your life or your ambitions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. We did talk about that early on. And
that will continue to be something.
Yeah. So that was a shifting sand. Max changed. Because earlier on, she absolutely put people first. Right.
She put Eleanor first, and now she learned from Eleanor, or at least she says she learned from Eleanor to put ambition first. Mm-hmm. So the point where I wanted to say that maybe this isn't an olive branch is that she says to her then, congratulations, you're about to get everything you ever wanted. And then she says, we can only guess what tomorrow will bring.
Okay,
and she had just been talking about that people who are high and powerful and people who are low and not powerful switching
like saying, don't
places.
Get too comfortable, Eleanor.
Again, I don't feel like it's a direct threat, but she's just saying, look, I was low, now I'm in the middle, you're high, who knows what... I mean, she's just basically saying, she just went through this whole speech about how nothing is fixed.
Yeah.
No one's position is secure. And she's basically like says, congratulations. Let's see how everything turns out.
Let's see how long this lasts. Yeah, interesting. Nope, I like that too. That's good.
Again,
so
I
maybe
don't feel
not
like
so much an olive branch as it is that we don't need to do this. We don't need to have all of our apologies. You know,
right?
You
Absolutely.
did what you did. I am doing what I am doing.
Right.
Time will tell. Okay.
Right.
I like
She's
that too.
definitely saying I'm detaching myself from you because now I have my own life.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
And again, I don't know if I would say it's a threat exactly, but it's just a recognition that who knows, you know, that you know, who knows? The sands will shift. And I just feel like this is one of the most central themes of this show. I mean, this is about everyone's maneuvering and everyone's politics and Flint starting low and then getting more powerful. And now he's had a mutiny. Like we
started with a mutiny and we ended with a mutiny. That's
exactly. So we've seen all of our characters just really just go up and down and up and down.
And we lost Gates.
And we lost Gates. We lost,
Losing Gates and Billy. If I didn't know that Billy was coming back, I would probably be pretty ticked off as an audience member by the end of this. But since I knew that Billy was coming back, I was a little... Although it did surprise me he's been gone so long. I was like, I have to wait till the next season before I get Billy back? So.
Yep. Yeah, you do. Gates that's huge. I mean, he really, I feel like, you know, he was the heart of everything. Like he was. And
he was Flint's humanity. He was acting as Flint's conscience, you know. He was Jiminy Cricket. So
that's so true. That's so true.
And now without him, God only knows what Flint is going to become. Now
Right.
his Jiminy Cricket is Silver? Are you kidding
Well,
me?
he still has Miranda. He still has Miranda
does
but she's
still
not
have
with
Miranda,
him all the
although-
time.
That's true. And so far, he has not been giving her much sway over his life or his decisions at all. Not the kind of sway
That's
he gave
true.
Gates.
No, absolutely. That is totally true. Right. I mean, I do feel like Gates is the one who tethered him to
Yes.
the humanity of his
Yes.
role. And he is untethered because
Ugh.
Silver's definitely not that person.
No. Yeah, that's a good call.
So that kind of goes into the next theme. I wanted to continue with our theme of who is Flint.
Who is Flint indeed? Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do a variation on it of like, who is Flint for us?
Oh, that's good. I'm in love with him now.
I
I don't
know
know what happened. He murdered Gates in front of my eyes, weeping that he was sorry. And I just thought, I have to know. I have to know how you got this way. I have to know what's going to happen for you. I'm in it. I'm so interested. Not that I would necessarily, follow you into the depths of hell, or not that I would want to switch places with Miranda for even a day, because that seems
Certainly
hellish
not.
also. Right. But as someone engaged in a story, I am in with Flint.
I know, isn't it amazing? It
is amazing.
Still, like 2 years into watching the show, and I am so engaged and so baffled by my engagement. Like I just love him so dearly, and it's really just down to great storytelling and great acting, and that's all I can say because the rational side of me is just like he is kind of a horrible
really bad
person.
boyfriend. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But it's fascinating, and I can't wait to get into some of the bigger themes in season 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll continue throughout. I mean, I feel like
Yes.
probably, we've only had 3 seasons, but I feel like the question of who is Flint will continue to be a theme throughout, however many seasons we get. But we know that in the 3 seasons, it's just a continual question, conversation, process of learning, and it's a wonderful thing because he is an amazing character. He's one of the
definitely.
best characters I've ever seen in fiction.
I just keep thinking, not only does Toby Stephens does such a great job as Flint, but gosh, what a gem of a character to get to play. I mean, that's a
my
dream
goodness.
role. I mean, to somebody who has this kind of arc, that's awesome.
I know. And most of our listeners don't even know the half of it yet. So
That's true.
just
Yep.
believe us that this character
so
is
cool.
so much going on.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so let's talk about our favorite things. Is there a theme you wanted to bring
Favorite
up?
part? No, there's not a theme that I want to bring up necessarily. So I think this is great. Yeah, let's move into favorite parts. For me, this is my favorite of the ships. The ships are flipping awesome in this episode. And it's so great to see that it just always gives me a rush. But again, I will never forget Flint with his arms around Gates, sinking to the floor as he murders him and apologizes. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I'll never forget it.
I know. Okay, well, you did 2 favorite things, so that lets me off the hook.
Sorry.
I get to
Yep,
have
go
2
ahead.
favorite things
As
also.
many as you want. All the things. Also the blue dress. I mean, what do you want?
Right. Well, that was my 2 one of my favorite things because I was very torn.
Right. Also
one
Parisian nights. Yeah.
Right. One of my favorite things is just Max. Is just Max. I
Max is
love that
awesome.
she's coming into herself, and
Yes.
she continues to be a combination of a powerful woman, a savvy woman, and a caring woman. And
Yes.
this just makes me so happy. And her dresses, and
Yep.
her little pearl thing that she's wearing
The
on her
thing
head when
around
she
her
does
head,
cheers.
I need one of those. If somebody has
Oh
an
my
Etsy
goodness!
shop
Yes,
where
you
sell
do.
those,
You
please
exactly need
email
one
us.
of those. You do. And then I already said that the bit that Gates says about the sea paying us and then
that's
claiming us.
right.
That is just
Pays us when it claims us.
yeah.
Ugh.
That is one of my all-time favorite things, and I will bring that up in the future because I
Yeah.
feel like that is such an important concept for this show.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for doing season 1 with us.
Yes. So next week
Super-
we're going to do like a season 1 wrap up, right? Where we talk through different things and do you want to tell everybody about our awesome
special guest
star? Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to have Lauren Sarner from Inverse.com is going to come and talk to us or with us about the themes of season 1. And she has been one of my favorite writers about Black Sails. She loves Black Sails the way we do.
Yes,
and she
so that's your homework. Go read everything Lauren Sarner ever wrote about Black Sails.
Seriously, go to Inverse.com and just see all of her articles. She covered season. Oh wait, actually don't. If you haven't watched the whole show, don't, because she covered season 3.
That's a good call. Yeah,
we take it back.
Spoiler alerts.
Right.
Do what you have to do. You make this work for you, listener.
Right. Watch the rest of the show if you haven't, and then read her coverage of season 3 because it's fantastic. And she has such interesting things to say about this show.
She absolutely does. Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant woman. Really honored to have her on the show.
I know. And I'm so excited to have her talk with us about season 1 because she didn't write articles about season 1. So it's going to be really fun to hear her thoughts specifically about season 1.
Definitely. That's good. Okay.
So we didn't talk specifically about listener comments, but there have been a lot of really great ones. And you can find all of them on our Twitter at Black Sails Cast. And I want to remind everyone, if you can, use the hashtag Fathoms Deep so that we can find them and other listeners can find them. And keep them coming. We love it. Email us.
Definitely.
Tell us your thoughts in long form, and then you can use spoilers and talk about whatever you want. And we're really, really enjoying what everyone's saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that wraps us up for this week. We'll see you again next Monday. Until then, from Common Room Radio, I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
Fathoms Deep is a Common Room Radio production. For more information and access to other programs, please visit us at commonroomradio.com. To show your support, pledges of as little as $1 a month can be made to patreon.com/commonroomradio. Join the conversation by using the hashtag FathomsDeep and follow us on Twitter at Black Sails Cast. We ask that you keep your tweets respectful and positive, and please avoid spoilers. If you have more to say, we want to hear it in all its spoiler glory. Email us at podcast@commonroomradio.com with Fathoms Deep in the subject line. Thanks for listening.